Hello everyone, this is a general reading for today. Set whatever intention you'd like. Let's get down to it. All right. So, yeah. A lot of reassessments right now for you guys, huh? My impression is you're really trying to understand what you want. And there's a lot of comparisons right now as to where you've been. And if it's right, that makes a lot of sense. But I think the main thing is that you're probably overthinking it a little bit, a little less trapped than you think. But it's hard to this close up, you know? You came in with a lot of agency to be at this point, though. It took a lot of standing up for yourself, a lot of, self commitment, really. You've been working hard to try to understand who you are and what you want. And frankly, you do have that power. You are able to be and go where you want. It's just, it's a lot of overthinking as to what that even means. That's very understandable. I myself wonder a lot about that. You can make a business doing anything. You could be a millionaire selling barbecue sauce. It's more, do you want to? And it's okay to not know. But that's kind of the big thing, right? And yeah, it's definitely a process. It's a lot to consider because, you're considering everything that really matters if you're thinking about it this kind of way. That's okay. I understand it being a little frustrating, but it's everything that's worthwhile. I would say that, you know, with these two where they are, the likely fact is that you're probably being a little hard on yourself. That's kind of my impression with this being the overall energy, the Knight of Wands. Um, just generally a lot of wand energy where you're coming from, wands, swords, Yeah, let's just be real here. We got 3 swords. We got more than a couple wands. I think came in kind of worked up, and it's understandable. You've had to be really disciplined about this for a while, but you might be just kind of at a point where, the pressure's really getting to you. And that's perfectly understanding. You know, you have a lot to decide. You've been deciding a lot. And more than anything, when you have a lot of wands in your consideration, it's about outwardly expanding into the life you want. Swords is about boundaries, responding the correct way to threats or whatever in your life with other people. Wands are about outward ambitions, and it's, yeah, Four of Pentacles in reverse. You're really unsure if what you're giving up is right, you know, and it probably just feels very unfair. I can see here you're kind of at this moment where it's like, well, is my luck just on its head? Is this all just like happening to me? But I really don't think so. That's not my impression when you have such I don't know, such good clarifiers really. I mean, your final outcome is the Queen of Cups. So maybe you're overthinking things, maybe they're a little hard right now, but I would really trust yourself because you're doing it for all the right reasons. Queen of Cups is about internal emotional fulfillment. It's really going at it the right way as to who you are, what you want, what's true for you, standing up for yourself, choosing yourself the right ways. Ultimately, that's where you're going. But with the Knight of Wands, my impression is that, you felt a little kicked on the way doing that by life. Not necessarily a person in particular, more like your situation. You've just been very unsure as to whether or not this is really going the right way for you. If you're putting in the effort, the right spots, and I think you are. My my internalized thematic challenge with this is that you just have an issue right now trusting yourself that what you're doing is right, and if you have these doubts and they seem legitimate, I think it's because they're self-fulfilling. I think it's because you're so caught up in things right now as to whether or not it's right or not. And I mean, the Six of Swords is also like period of transition. You might feel stuck right now in this period of transition, trying to just get to where you want to get. You've been reviewing the past, really, really overthinking stuff right now and reflecting. And it's ultimately really, really good. My first instinct is that the medicine and the situation involves a little bit of self-compassion. I'm going to clarify because I can tell this is more the situation than some answer to it. And if I was someone who was kind of just overthinking things and stuck, I wouldn't want to just be like told that and have somebody move on. Let's get a little bit more into a direction as to what to do with this, okay? So I'm gonna bring it up right now. Okay. All right. So the clarifier for this is art in reverse. So yeah, it's kind of like my interpretation of that is it's a similar state to like uh the Ten of Swords or like the Death card, where this is a pruning period for you and you're really, yeah, you're just not sure if you're making the right decisions, I guess. But I think ultimately you are. It's the worry of them that is really more the concern here. And just kind of laying out a basic 3 card right now. Yeah, I mean, this makes a lot of sense. And ultimately, I think you're making the right decision, very clearly. You've been through a lot. You're really, really trying to be clear with what you decide, not try to put yourself into a bad situation. There's a lot of financial matters that are really being considered right now, and it might be as simple as, did you make the right call? Did you get the right job? Should you have turned this down? Should you have said yes to that? But I mean, beyond even what just the Five of Swords means in this specific depiction, this is spirit over body when you have the star facing up like this. But also a lot of internal criticisms. The swords are pointing inwards. A lot of well, self-criticism, self-destruction, you could imply. And, upright, it's in a sense of reverence of, oh, I'm putting in this work and I'm really, really, I think like this, it means, well, you've stopped honoring a sense of self-sabotage. You know, the idea is that, like, it's the beast versus the man, the spirit over the will. The will acknowledges the body over the spirit, hence this being, the reverse pentagram. But this is upwards to say that, like, you've come to a place where you're thinking with your head over your heart, but I would say in the right way. Now, there's a chance you could say that you could dishonor how you feel by the way this is interpreted, but I don't really think so. Looking at all this other stuff, I think the short answer is that you're really doing your best to actually meet your emotional fulfillment. If we're looking at the Queen of Cups, I think there's the fear of worrying if you made the wrong decision to betray your heart. But I think it's most important at all times to gauge where resistance comes from, because that tells you what your truth is. Are you resisting a yes or a no? And you might not understand where that's coming from internally. I think the best analogy I tend to bring up is like when I bought my first car. It's this run down convertible. It was a terrible pick objectively for a first car. And the first time I saw it, I got this internal swelling of anxiety. And I realized it was because I had no idea how I was going to convince myself to say no. I was essentially worried I was already in love and I didn't know what to do about it. That's the kind of thing you should consider. And you should consider the mirror of that too. Maybe your first instinct is how you need to talk about how it's going to work or how it should be this or that. And it's okay to just say, no, it's not going to work. I don't want this. I want to want this, but I know it's not good for me, or that I'm ultimately going to betray myself or other people in this position. I'm going to try to be polite and not honest, and it's going to bite everybody later. And I feel like there's a certain kind of discernment that you've reached to do this, and you've taken an eat your vegetables kind of moment in life, and you're worried about it. But the thing to consider, if the worry comes in later, that's another one of those signs where the initial decision was right, because you wanted it. It was an objective, like, yes, it wasn't a maybe. You just weren't sure. And if you were suppressing that the whole time, that's another thing. But, like, you can tell where I'm coming from with this. And I think that's more the caution to take with all of this right now. I think the short answer is you have a lot of uncertainty. You really, really aren't sure in yourself, but you're stronger than you know. And I promise the world isn't against you, but yeah, you've had to deal with, honestly, so much. I think this is really the point of this card, is accept that, like, you've had it really hard. You've been overthinking this for a long time. It's not serving you. It's only getting you worked up. It doesn't actually affect where the amusement park ride goes on the rails. You've already made your decisions, and I would take this moment as a call to trust in yourself, that you did everything right up until this point. Ultimately, nothing that is ever meant for you will ever pass you by. And if you trust in yourself, that alone is going to be self-fulfilling. And I trust whatever you did was right. Maybe it was hard. Maybe you aren't sure in yourself, but give yourself that. You're worth it. You deserve it. You deserve to trust yourself and say, you know what, you did the best you did it in that situation. You did the best you could. It's going to be for the best possible outcome. You don't have to worry about it. Maybe there'll be some roundabout sort of stuff. It might not be in the way you expect, but you made the right choice. And I would leave it at that for now. Trust yourself and enjoy everything.